All right, welcome back everyone to another deep dive. You know how this works. We take a complex topic and break it down.
Make it accessible.
Exactly. And speaking of accessible, that's actually what we're diving into today. We're looking at a script all about inclusive education. Education, we all know it's important.
Absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, crucial. But think about it. What if the very system that's meant to help people learn is actually a barrier for millions?
A huge obstacle.
It's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
But this script we're looking at today, well, it paints a really powerful picture of a world where education really is for everyone, no matter what.
What I found so compelling about this script is that it doesn't shy away from the hard stuff. It really digs into the challenges and the solutions needed to make this vision of education for all a reality. And a good place to start is by defining what we mean by accessible education.
Okay, so accessible education, what does that even mean?
Well, think of it like this. It means ensuring that everyone, and I mean everyone, can learn effectively regardless of their abilities or background. Everyone gets a fair shot.
So we're talking about more than just physical accessibility like wheelchair ramps and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It goes way deeper than that. Think about a student with dyslexia. For them, just decoding text can be a massive struggle. But assistive technology like text-to-speech software, that can be a game changer. It can literally bridge the gap and allow them to access information alongside their peers.
It's like leveling the playing field.
Precisely. Or think about a student with a visual impairment. A screen reader can open up a whole world of digital learning materials that would otherwise be inaccessible.
Wow. You know, I never really thought about how essential those kinds of technologies are for so many people.
Mhm.
It's easy to take that kind of access for granted.
It really is. And that brings us to the concept of inclusive education, which builds on the foundation of accessibility.
Right, inclusive education. So how does that differ?
Inclusive education takes it a step further. It's about creating a learning environment where students with disabilities are fully integrated into mainstream classrooms. They're learning alongside their peers in a supportive environment with the resources and accommodations they need to thrive.
That sounds fantastic. But let's be real. The script doesn't sugarcoat things. It lays out some pretty serious challenges.
It does.
We're talking lack of trained teachers, not enough funding, inadequate infrastructure,
Yeah.
even societal stigmas.
Yeah, those stigmas are a big one. You can't just brush those aside.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
They're often so deeply ingrained in our society, and that includes the education system.
Exactly. Think about a student with autism, for example. They might be perceived as disruptive in a traditional classroom setting.
Right.
And that perception, which comes from a lack of understanding, can lead to their needs being overlooked. And that further isolates them. It creates invisible barriers that prevent those students from engaging fully in the learning process.
It's kind of heartbreaking when you think about the long-term impact that can have on a child. But thankfully, the script doesn't leave us with just a sense of doom and gloom, right?
Definitely not. It actually offers some really concrete solutions. One of the most compelling is the concept of universal design in education.
Universal design. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that.
So instead of thinking about accommodations as something you tack on after the fact, universal design encourages educators to build inclusivity into the very foundation of the educational experience. You're proactively designing for diverse needs from the get-go.
Can you give an example of what that looks like in practice?
Sure. Imagine a classroom where the furniture is flexible and can be easily rearranged to accommodate different learning activities and students with different physical needs.
Okay, I see.
Or think about lesson plans that incorporate a variety of learning materials and approaches to cater to diverse learning styles. Some students learn best visually, some auditorily, some kinesthetically. It's about acknowledging those differences and planning accordingly.
So it's kind of like building a ramp right into the building from the start, rather than trying to add it later on as an afterthought when someone in a wheelchair needs to get in.
That's a great analogy. And the script also talks about technology as a really powerful tool for bridging those gaps.
Yeah, technology definitely has a huge role to play here, right?
Of course, and it goes beyond just having the latest gadgets. It's about training teachers to use technology effectively, to personalize learning and cater to the unique needs of each student.
So it's not just about the tools themselves, but about how we use them.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted approach, a shift in mindset, resources, and training.
Makes sense. You know, one thing that comes to mind as we're discussing this is, how do we actually measure the impact of these efforts? Does the script touch on that at all?
It does. It emphasizes the importance of data-driven decision-making in inclusive education. That means tracking the progress of students, not just academically, but also their social emotional development and overall well-being.
Oh, that's a great point. It's not just about grades.
No, it's about the whole child. And that data can then be used to fine-tune strategies to make sure inclusive education is really serving everyone.
A constant process of learning and improvement. I'm also wondering, how does the script deal with the potential for pushback? Because let's face it, change can be hard, even when it's for the better.
Yeah, that's true. The script acknowledges that implementing inclusive education requires more than just resources and training. It requires a shift in attitudes and
The
beliefs.
cultural shift almost.
Yeah, exactly. And it advocates for open dialogue, for collaboration between educators, administrators, policymakers, families.
So everyone has a voice.
Right, because when you have that open communication, you can address concerns head on, dispel those myths, and foster a shared understanding of the benefits of inclusive education. And those benefits extend to all students, not just those with disabilities.
And when it's successful, the impact is amazing. I love that image the script painted of students confidently participating in class, graduating, entering the workforce.
It's powerful, but it goes even beyond those individual success stories.
In what way?
When education is truly inclusive, it has this ripple effect throughout society. It fosters empathy, understanding, acceptance of differences. We're talking about creating a more equitable and just society where everyone has the chance to reach their full potential.
Oh, wow. This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening.
I agree.
We've gone deep on what accessible and inclusive education really means, the challenges, the solutions, and why it matters for everyone, not just those with disabilities. So much to think about. So here's a final thought for everyone listening. Imagine you were tasked with designing an education system from scratch. What would you prioritize to make sure it was truly inclusive and accessible for all?
A great question to ponder.
It is. Something to chew on until our next deep dive. Catch you all then.
So